There's a brand new sport coming to the University of Rio Grande. We'll talk about that, plus the Night to Shine event that the Rio athletes were involved in, and much, much more coming up next on Eye on the Storm. And we welcome you to Eye on the Storm, our monthly look at what's going on in Rio Grande athletics. I'm Sports Information Director Randy Payton, joined today again by Athletic Director Jeff Lanham, and we want to kick the show off with, I guess, breaking news, so to speak, a new sport coming to the University of Rio Grande, something I know that you worked on very diligently trying to get things to happen, and it's going to take place, and eSports is coming to the University of Rio Grande.
eSports. We could probably take a poll right now to see how many people have ever heard of eSports. And when I say that, we get a lot of strange looks about what in the world.
I get strange looks anyway.
We've got.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Yeah, it's the online gaming, and you know, we have a lot of people out there that play these. We have a lot of people who watch these games online, and I think we've got a video that we're going to run just to kind of give us a little background about eSports. So let's watch the video.
eSports. We love to play. Since the 1980s, video games and competitive gameplay have been part of our Western culture. The video arcade, the Atari, Nintendo, PlayStation, even PC gaming are all part of this rich cultural lineage of play. We play ourselves, we watch, we even compete. What makes an esport? Well, any individual or team game that can be played on a level playing field in competition, whether that's live or online.
Still alive! Charm's gonna land on him! Is he gonna be able to walk away? Baker is still running! Still damaging him! And another turn! And expansion goes down!
While there are half a dozen top-tier esports, more than 100 different titles are being played competitively around the world. Esports break all boundaries. They're played by men and women across cultures and can be played on consoles, PCs, and even mobile devices. Esports are truly a world sport. Over the last decade, we've seen interest, broadcasting, and live events eclipse those of their traditional sport counterparts. Esports are a massive draw. We love to watch them live, and we love to watch them stream. For people under 30, video games are the most popular media industry in the world, more popular than television, music, or movies. But competitive video game play is not just something we do, it's something we watch. In 2016, more people watched the League of Legends Championships than the World Series, the NBA Championships, or the Stanley Cup playoffs. That makes the top 3 sporting events in the World Cup, the Super Bowl, and a video game competition. Esports are the sport of the rising generation. Talented players, broadcasters, and managers are filling every level from professional, now to collegiate, high school, and even Pee-wee. To many, esports is the biggest world they've never heard of. But to millennials, it's the future of competition, of broadcasting, and of sport. But not the distant future, the future of today. This is esports.
All right, so there's a little bit of a background, and tell us where we go from here.
Well, and just maybe to follow up about the video, the idea of this is that this sport is booming across the world. This is an interesting fact about, in 2017, the most watched event in the world was the World Cup soccer championship game. Okay? The most watched event. More people watched that than any other event on the planet.
All right.
The second one was the Super Bowl. And number 3 was eSports League of Legends Championship, which is
stunning.
It's unbelievable, the popularity that's going on with this with these online gaming competitions. So for us at Rio, we're looking at starting a competitive team fall of 2020. So we've got a little over a year and a half to get prepared for this. We've got a budget set up. We've got the arena that we're going to utilize. And when I say arena, sometimes people think of it as a place where there's going to be thousands of people. As you saw on the video, there are people who like to watch this. But we're a place where our team members can compete. And most of this is done online. So there's not very little travel, if any travel at all. And the idea of it is we want to provide an opportunity for people who are interested in this gaming product, interested in this competition, to be able to compete. And we're going to have TVs and monitors where people can watch them compete. So both as a team and as individuals.
I guess step number 1, or one of the first steps, is going to be finding somebody to coach.
That is right. It is right. And just to be honest with you, I am not a gamer. I played Pong when I was younger. You know, that was about as far as I got. I did not. I've never Call of Duty. I've never done any of that. I just have never been involved in that. So for me to, that is something that I've got to learn myself, because that is one of the things that probably scares me to death more than anything. It's just being able to, you know, I'm talking with other institutions. I mean, right now there's about over 125 institutions that are members of NACE. That is NACE. That's the National Association of Collegiate eSports. And it's a organization based in Kansas City. So I have talked with a number of those institutions that currently have eSports or are in the process of starting it. And you just get some pointers from them about how to go about. And we have people here on campus. We have staff and faculty both who are very interested in this, and were the first ones to email me when they heard about that we are going to be able to start a new program.
And we call it eSports, but don't get the idea that the games that the student athletes are playing are sporting games. You mentioned League of Legends, Call of Duty, and we saw in the video 2 or 3 other different types of games.
Yeah, there's League of Legends. That gives you an idea. We've got some more coming up. Smite is another one that is.
Tell me about Smite.
Smite is a.
School me.
Smite is a game that's created from an organization that's in Atlanta, Georgia. RIZ is the name of the company. R-I-Z, RIZ, and they are actually having the first national championship of Smite this spring. It's 64 teams will compete with that. That's kind of shows you an esports arena, what that would look like. They compete and they have a one-on-one, and they advance just like you would in a basketball tournament, down to the Final Four. And the owner of this organization has pretty interesting. Last summer I was at a convention. Sitting beside me was Jim Carr, who is the CEO of the NAIA, with National Association Intercollegiate Athletics, that we're a member of. And gentleman up on the stage with Smite said, we're going to do this. We're going to get it down to a Final Four. We've already got the facility reserved, and I will guarantee you that there will be at least 20,000 people there to watch these Final Four competitions. And I turned to Jim and I said, Jim, what other championship do we have where there's 20,000 people there to watch it? And there isn't any. There's none that we have. So this is going to be something that I don't know where, there's not a lid on it, and it's just going to continue to grow. And that's kind of one of the parts that we need to get involved in that now. We don't need to wait, and that's what our board of directors saw that as a positive and said we need to move on this. So we're moving forward.
Shawnee State has eSports right now.
Correct.
A lot of the high school programs in the area. I mentioned to you Spring Valley down in West Virginia getting ready to
Jackson High School close to us. Gal Police is looking at adding it as well.
You kind of led me to look in on it a little bit, and it's amazing to me how quickly, it's literally like the fire is growing more and more every day.
That's right. And it's not, sometimes people have the idea that somebody who's playing these games are sitting down in mom and dad's basement all by themselves, and it's that, and that's not the case. These are
you
not.
You don't have to have a pocket protector.
That's right. These are not people coming onto campus that are going to be in computer science. They are across the board in majors that are involved in this, and it's a lot of athletes that are competing in football, baseball, basketball love this gaming, and that we will see a lot of them on our own campus that will say, I want to be a part of this. I want to come in and help with this too. I know that Shawnee State, their first meeting, they had 72 people show up for their first meeting for a tryout. And Kyle, I'm going down there actually on Monday here very quickly, and I'm going to see their arena and get some information from them as well.
Now, at Rio, there will be scholarships available. Yes. And I know, obviously, you said Shawnee, 72 at their first meeting. That's not the level that you want to reach immediately at Rio Grande. I think, obviously, you want to start much smaller and then build from there.
I mean, our goal is to have 10. Our goal is to have 10 new students on campus that want to do the gaming esports. And so that's the target that we're looking for. Everybody I talk to says we can fall out of the bed and have that many people new show up on campus. So we'll see. It'll
be interesting to see how it continues to grow once it gets up and going.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of anxious to see how it will go here at Rio. Got some other things we want to get to. We're jam-packed in terms of content today. The Night to Shine that the Tim Tebow Foundation does nationally. They had it, I guess 2 weeks ago, had a night down in Gallipolis at one of the local churches, and there you see a photo. We had some women's basketball players and some softball players who participated. 166 guests, 350 volunteers. They had 120 parents who stuck around for a dinner afterwards, and I think the only complaint they had, Jeff, was there really wasn't enough space, and they might want to try to even move that out here to the Line Center.
That is, and what this is set up for individuals with special needs, and it's like a prom, would be
Correct.
A prom for them. And Tim Tebow is the organizer of this. I think this is year 4, and they do it on that, I think this was February the 8th, and it's done on that night throughout the world. Everybody does it on that night. He even did they had a big screen, and Tim Tebow came in and congratulated everyone and welcomed them, and so across the world. So it was pretty well attended. I think talking with Coach Smalley, it was great for the participants, but I think also it was really good for our people who were involved with that. They got as much or more out of it than anybody, and just being able to be there and to help and to see the smiles on. And I was there in the paparazzi line when they would come down the red carpet. I was cheering and giving them high fives, and I mean, it was really was a neat setup. And they did outgrow the gymnasium, and they are looking to. They're actually asking permission if they can hold it at our place next year.
I know Coach Smalley mentioned in one of our staff meetings, I think one of his players, Megan Didway, she was the date for a young man that was in a wheelchair, and she danced the night away.
That's correct.
And
That's correct.
I guess her date had a great time, and from all takes, everybody had a great time that was involved.
And that's what they're saying. They had, I think, would you say 160 plus?
166.
And
yes.
word of mouth is going to get out there. They're going to have more and more people that's going to want to come and be involved with this. So it needs to be at a bigger spot.
And we talk all the time about Rio and our athletic department being involved in the initiative, the Champions of Character, and that goes right in line with
it. It does. And they're a great community. I mean, the volunteers, we had a lot of staff from the university that was working there as well. I know Coach Willie was upset he couldn't be there because they had their indoor track meet that day, the conference track meet. So they missed out on that, and hopefully they'll be able to do that next year.
Another thing that we want to point out, and this one actually getting ready to come up while Rio is out on spring break, Corey Sherburl, who we had here on the show, I guess a couple of shows back, there's a shot of him. A very interesting project that he's involved with.
It is, and Corey worked for the military for, I want to say 3 years, where he traveled all over the world to train the troops and the individuals about all kinds of different things, from nutrition to how to fall, how to help with injuries and help to create a better environment for them during wartime. And so he had a connection with the military. He was not in the military, but had a connection there. And while he was traveling around, he was in southern Italy and went to the grave of his great uncle who was killed in action and was buried there. And he came up with this idea. So what he's doing during our spring break, which is that first week in March, he's spending 6.5 days, 8 hours a day, to spend 2 seconds at each, and when I say each, 400,000 plus grave sites, just to say thank you.
At the Arlington National Cemetery.
At the Arlington National Cemetery. And that is an unbelievable, I guess, event that he's going to be involved in. And he's the one who came up with this. It's completely paid for with donations. People are helping him out. He has exceeded his cost, and anything over that he's donating that back to the Veterans Committee here at the University of Rio Grande that is honoring a Veteran of the Year every year, and this is towards the dinner that's held the last Saturday in October.
Just a great cause. I mean, everybody, what are you doing over spring break? And his project may trump everybody else.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
We want to look at, while in our closing minutes here, at what's gone on in the winter sports here at the University of Rio Grande, and with the start of spring sports rather. We backtrack a little bit to women's basketball. They lose in the quarterfinal round of the River States Conference tournament. They fall to Alice Lloyd. They finished the year at 16-15. Kind of a quick comment on their season. It was ravaged by injuries. They did have, because of those injuries, Jada Carter had to take a bigger role on the team, and I think we've got a picture of her there against Ohio Christian. She was named River States Conference Player of the Year. You wish it would have been a better senior year for her, but nonetheless, they finished with a winning season.
That's right, and she had a wonderful senior year individually, and just, sometimes that happens in sports, and you just cannot control those things. Where you have 4 major players go down, and it's hard to recover from any of that. So, Jada, congratulations to her, very much well deserved, and people could not stop her, even with going in knowing that she's the one who can beat you. So that she still excelled, when she has that target on her back from everybody.
Right. Men's basketball also falling in the quarterfinal round of the River States Conference tournament. They lose to Asbury and finish out the season at 12-19. They too battled some injuries, lost Gunnar Short for a big portion of the season. They did have one award winner of note, and I think we've got a shot of him. Cam Schreider, junior out of Mason, Ohio, was named to the second team All-Conference, All River States Conference. 12-19, they played much better down the stretch, and I think given the fact that they only had one senior in Earl Russell, a lot to be expected out of men's basketball come next year.
That's right, and I think the idea of not only were they freshmen, but they were just new faces,
right.
you know, and the idea of when Christmas got here and as they started into the conference, people didn't want to play them because of that. So there is some, I think, some high notes to be looked at for next year.
Indoor track and field, we've got a trio. There's the logo for the NAIA championships taking place out in Brookings, South Dakota at Dakota State University. We had a trio of student athletes and a couple of coaches who, matter of fact, are in the process of making that trip out. Dean Freitag, a sophomore on the men's side, he qualified 7th nationally in the 3,000-meter race walk. Amira Strother is part of the women's 60-meter hurdle. She is 23rd nationally in terms of qualifying time at 9:07. And also junior Shanavir Robinson, who was recently named the River States Conference Newcomer of the Year. She's part of the 60-meter dash prelims that are coming up, and we wish the three of them a good luck. But nice to have some kids representing Rio in the national event. The only problem is it's so far away.
And I haven't looked at the temperature out there for the next, but of course it's all indoor, but you still have to go outside to get from spot A to spot B. So
South Dakota in February is not too many destinations.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. So I mean, we want to wish them well and good luck.
Baseball is underway. Matter of fact, this past weekend, finally got a chance to play in the state of Ohio. They hosted Fisher College out of Boston, Massachusetts, up at VA Memorial Stadium, and swept a 4-game series against the Falcons. They're off to a 12-7 start. They're 12th in terms of the Bo Chip ratings, which I know goes toward determining later on who makes the national tournament. So off to a good start in that sense, and finally on the 8th of March, getting a chance to play at home against Point Park.
We hope.
Weather permitting.
We hope. That is right. Talking with Coach Warnemont, you and I both, he's looking at the no rain, but 30 degrees, 32, 34. That doesn't bother those baseball guys, and so.
I tell you what, it bothers those who have to watch it.
I guess Tara gets a hard time with it too, our trainer. So that's tough. But that's springtime in Ohio, and that's just the way it is.
I think we have a shot of freshman Cole Dyer. That is actually him hitting a sacrifice fly that won the final game of the series on Sunday afternoon when we were playing in.
Check the backside.
Yeah, check everybody in the Fisher dugout who's dressed like the Michelin Man back there, trying to stay warm. We mentioned baseball. They're at home on the 8th and 9th for the first time, but they actually. Believe it or not even 20 games into the season yet. They're playing conference action this week at IU Southeast.
Going to IU Southeast. So they got a pretty tough 2 starting series in the conference.
IU Southeast and then Point Park.
Probably ranked number 1, number 2 in the preseason polls. So
you are correct.
Yeah. So they'll be okay. They'll be all right. And they feel good about it. They've got a couple kids that are still waiting to get come back in, a couple pitchers. So he's looking forward to this thing.
Softball's battling the same problems in terms of weather-wise. They have obviously, as they do every year, headed south week in and week out trying to get games. They won't actually play at home until March the 15th and 16th that weekend against Asbury and Midway. 5-5, they have battled a little bit of the injury bug as well to their senior standout, Kelsey Conkey. They're headed to Alabama, as a matter of fact, later today, and will play 6 games over the course of 3 days, and 5 of them are against ranked opponents. And Coach Hammond might ought to have his head examined the kind of schedule that he's made here to start the season.
Well, he has been trying to get into this tournament for a couple years. So it's an invite only, and
Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Yes, Gulf Shores, Alabama, and there's people from all over the country that's coming in there, and those are the people that you see at the World Series at the end of the year. So
I think I told you yesterday they play 6 games against teams from 6 different states.
Right. So they're all over the place.
People that you don't normally get a
and
chance
that's that'll be good for our group that we've got, and we've got some talented girls, and we've got some people that need to see this. It helps really prepare us to, to go into our conference, that's going to be here before we know it. That's conference games.
Something else that's going to be here before we know it is the start of the outdoor track and field schedule. We mentioned the indoor folks finishing up this weekend out at South Dakota. Outdoor starts down in Hickory, North Carolina on the 15th and 16th of March. They don't have a whole lot of overlap between one season and the start of the next one.
It's tough as a track athlete to run in that cold, getting prepared, because you just don't compete as well. Your body just does not perform as well as it does in the warmth.
In our closing moments, bowling. Actually, there's a shot of Lexi Filan from softball action earlier this year. They got a win down at Georgetown. Actually 2 wins down at Georgetown, and she is part of Rio's everyday starting lineup on the softball end of things. Bowling, they're ranked they're actually ranked 13th this week in the NAIA rankings. They qualified for sectional play. They're headed to Smyrna, Tennessee on the 8th and the 9th of March, something that they got to do last year, and a program, Jeff, that just continues to improve.
Right, and actually they're ranked 12th.
Oh.
They got moved up from 13 to 12th. If they stay at number 12, they will be an at-large bid to go to the NAIA first ever bowling national championship in Topeka, Kansas is where it's at. And only 12 teams go to that. And
I think since our last show, they actually, I can't remember which tournament it was, they had a tournament that on the men's side, they actually won.
They won, yeah, and I can't remember that either, Randy.
We got too much to try to remember.
We've got a lot of stuff.
Hey, also, while we're thinking about it, golf getting back into the spring schedule. They're down in Kodak, Tennessee at a tournament hosted by Hiawassee College on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March. And then later they're back down in Sevierville, Tennessee for a tournament hosted by Johnson University.
And that's both men and women.
Correct.
So they're traveling together and going down to that to be able to get started competing here. And then our conference match or conference meet will take place here.
It comes up in April, I believe.
End of April, yeah, that's when that takes place over in Indiana.
So a whole bunch of stuff going on here at the University of Rio Grande. I hope that we were able to get to all of it and properly explain it to you. And we promise, as is the case, we will have a chock full of information on our next edition here of Eye on the Storm. So for Jeff Lanham, Randy Payton saying so long, and we'll catch you next time on Eye on the Storm.